Hey everyone, and welcome back to Suited Aces Poker, where every week we review hundreds of hands from poker vloggers across YouTube and bring you 10 of the best. In this episode, we're bringing you 10 of the best from the whole month of March. We reviewed thousands of hands, and these are 10 of our favorites. In this episode, we've got pots bigger than the average annual salary here in the US. We've got good reminders to keep a check on your body language, and we have hands that we reckon you only normally see when you're playing online. So sit back, relax, and enjoy 10 of the best. Let's make a start. Picking up the number 10 spot for March, and Wolfgang Poker is playing at the Palm Beach Kennel Club in West Palm Beach, Florida, in a 5-10 cash game. And in this hand, it's almost like losing feels like winning.
I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm having more fun when I look down at pocket aces from the button. As if life couldn't get any better, the $25 straddle is on and the hijack puts in the call. How could it get any better? Oh, I don't know if the cutoff now raises it up to $75 and the action's back over to me. I'm on the button, there's a straddle, a call, a cutoff raise. Obviously, I need to build the size of the pot and get some of these players out of here, so we're not going four ways to a flop. I make it $210. When I make it $210, I only really expect the cutoff to put in the call here, but that's not what happens. Let's see who calls. Oh, the small blind, the big blind, the hijack, and the cutoff all call. How is this even possible? I have aces now in a 5-way hand. It's $1,000 in the pot, and the flop comes queen, jack, 4, rainbow. I have the benefit of position. I'm on the button, and the small blind now rips it all in for $400. He starts the action. The big blind puts in the call, and the action's back over to me. I really would like to just get out of the way here, but I don't think the small blind is ripping it in too strong. The big blind's call, though, is very strong, so I'm not going to be raising here. I'm also not going to be folding. I put in $480, and let's see what the turn card brings in. Other than an ace, a 4 of clubs might be the best card for us, counterfeiting any queen jack holdings, but the king of hearts is not that card in the actions on the big blind. He has around $1,600 left in his stack, and I have him covered, and he just decides to rip it all in for $1,600. If he didn't have us beat on the flop, this king of hearts probably brings in any of the draws he was doing this with, most obvious being 10-9 of hearts or spades. Aces at this point is just a bluff catcher, so I fold it face up. We're going to see the run out in this $2,400 pot. When the river comes the 8 of spades, the big blind turns over pocket kings. We had him crushed. How didn't he go for the 5-bet preflop? I would have just ripped it in and we would have got stacked. His decision to just call my 4-bet preflop with aces saves me about $1,600, but he's going to take down that $2,500 pot. Feels like a win though. I saved a bunch of chips.
Number 9 for March, and Lexo is playing in a 5-5 game at the Texas Card House in Dallas. And oh no, this is so painful to watch.
Next hand, I'm going to blur out my opponent's hand so that you can sweat the action with me. I make it $50 with queen 10 over a limp. The button calls, limper calls. We flop top pair. I continue for $125. The button calls, limper folds. The turn is the queen of spades, giving me top 2 pair. Finally, after a couple hours of basically nothing, we make top 2 pair, make a pretty big hand here. I decide to bet $425, a pot-sized bet. I want to be betting this big with all my value hands and some of my big draws like king jack, ace king of diamonds, ace jack of diamonds. My opponent on the button decides not to call, but put in a raise. He raises it up here to $1,000. So immediately, I don't feel the best about this situation. The reason why is that the button player really has not been playing many hands. He's been playing pretty passive all night. I haven't seen him bluff once. I haven't seen him really get out of line. A couple times he flopped the nuts and bet. So now I feel like I could be getting coolered against 4s or 5s. Maybe he has a hand like king queen of diamonds, ace king of diamonds, queen jack of diamonds, but would he really raise that hand? I feel like he would just call. One important thing to note here is the button only has $1,200 left, not too much money to bluff me with on the river if he is bluffing here, which means he's probably leaning more towards value hands. However, we have top 2 pair. There's no way I'm going to be folding. The question is, should I just rip it all in or should I just make the call? In real time, I felt like a call was the best play, so I put in the chips and we're going to the river in a pretty sizable pot here. With top 2 pair, we see the 7 of diamonds, which is not the best card. If he was bluffing with a flush draw, he got there. I check, and he instantly jams all in. Just another nasty spot, just over and over and over again. We do have a great hand, however, the way he's played his hand, I feel like top 2 pair is probably not ever good here. I go into the tank for a while, start thinking over the hand, trying to run it back in my brain to try to figure out what I want to do. He raised on the turn, which is pretty strong, facing a pot-sized bet from me. If he did have one of those hands like ace-queen or king-queen, I'm pretty sure he would check that back on the river. I don't think he would ever be going all in with just a single pair on this river. I just cannot make up my mind here. Keep going back and forth whether I want to call or fold. I don't really see any bluffs in his range here once the diamond gets there on the river. We're losing to a set of 4s, a set of 5s, losing to 8-6 for a straight, any flush that he might have raised on the turn, and queen X of diamonds. While I'm thinking over my decision, I want you guys to pause the video, go down into the comments and tell me what you would do before you see the results. I want you to pretend like you're in the situation with me. Would you call here with top 2 pair, or would you make the hero fold? After tanking for over 2 minutes, I let this one go, and the button shows the queen of diamonds, and he has the king of spades for just top pair. I'm not sure if he was bluffing here or value betting. I have no idea what the hell just happened in this hand.
Number 8, and Yale Greenfield is at the Shark Tank Poker Club in Columbus, Ohio, in a 2-5 game. And I think we've all been here, where plan A fails, but plan B really makes it.
Buckle up for this one. It's a one-off, action-inducing hand. So what we've got here is we've got 5 blinds. 2, 5, 10. Someone convinces Trish to put on the $20 blind, and once she does that, the guy to her left, Mike, puts on a $40 blind raise. So he will not have an option here. The button calls 40. The $2 blind completes. Big blind's gonna fold, and we've got Live King's absolute favorite hand, Ace King offsuit. So we go upstairs and make it look like $210. Trish puts in the call. I've played a fair bit with Trish. I think this is a pretty strong hand from her.
All in.
And the $40 blind goes all in for $11.55.
What is it, like 1,000?
This guy had been playing a lot of hands, but certainly I would expect that this is going to be a good hand. The other 2 people get out of the way, and now it's back on me. And really, I don't think this is a tough decision at all. Ace King is simply too strong in this scenario. I go all in for my $22.77 total. While Trish is contemplating her options, facing our all-in, we recently made a push past 2,000 subscribers, and we're headed towards 3,000. So please hit that subscribe button. I think when she's in the tank here, she's got hands like 9s, 10s, jacks, maybe sometimes ace-queen, ace-jack suited, hands like that. I'm really hoping she folds here. And Trish does fold.
Oh, whatever you want to do. Oh, I don't care. One time? One time.
He wants to go once, and that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. Ah, the jack. Nice hand.
And he shows queen jack off. So a little bit of a maniacal play, which could have benefited us, but instead, the ace king goes down in flames. And I really think, look, this is a 5 blind hand. Obviously, our get in for a little under 30 big blinds is completely standard. But in this case, the poker gods had other plans for us, and our own meetup game continues to not go well.
Number 7, and Jack of the Next Gen Poker Boys is playing in a 1-3 game at the Texas Card House in Dallas. And what in the world is happening in this one?
As I mentioned before, the 7 deuce bounty game is in act, and we're playing 1-3, 10-20 this hand. Yes, you heard that right. There's a double straddle on. We're in an early position and look down at 7 deuce. Let's bump this one up, try to get some folds. I make it $80. Everyone folds all the way around to the double straddle, who's Pez. His hand is going to be kept a mystery, and he defends for 60 more. Flop comes 10 high, it's rainbow, and when he checks me, I see bet 75, but he makes a call pretty quickly. The turn brings in an offsuit ace, and I think this is a great card to continue betting. I'm gonna have plenty of hands like ace king, ace queen, ace jack that c-bet small on the flop and can go for some value now that I hit top pair. So I'm gonna try to pretend like that's exactly what happened. I bet 125, trying to look value heavy, and Pez thinks about it for a while and rips it all in for $375 total. I snap fold, and let's see what he had. 7-3 offsuit. Wow, okay. We just got owned on television. Nice hand, Pez. Props to you for having the balls to make that play. I respect the hell out of it.
And number 6, and Mariano is playing in a massive 25-50 cash game at the Hustler in California. And if you're Mariano's opponent in this one, what's your play on the river?
Moving on to the next hand, there's an open from early position for $200, and I choose to re-raise with King 9 of spades in position. Everyone else folds, and it gets back to the initial raiser. He thinks it over for a while, and eventually decides $700 is not enough, and bumps it up to $1,800. Action's back to me now, and at this point, I think it's fairly obvious we're up against a big hand, but considering that my opponent has plenty of money left behind, and we're in position, I choose to make an ambitious call. With nearly $4,000 already in the middle, we go to a flop of Jack 8-4 with 2 spades. Oh boy. He continues with a bet of $2,500, and I make the call. The turn is the Ace of Hearts, bringing in a second flush draw. My opponent seems unfazed though, because he keeps betting, this time $3,300. I don't think a raise makes much sense, so I call once again, and we're off to see one last card, which sadly brings no help, but it's actually a decent card, especially once he checks it over to me. Obviously, I have nothing with only King High, but I could certainly have some stuff on this board like King 10 of spades, 10-9 of spades, pocket jacks, pocket eights, pocket aces, you get the idea. Of course, with all those hands, I would be going all in, so I think we only have one play here.
Is it all in time for Mariano? It is. This would be a great call if Slim can make it. It's a very well played hand by Mariano. He just got caught bluffing. Slim's probably thinking, would he do it twice in a row? The answer is yes. This is the thing with these guys. Candy paid it off. Mariano had a boat. Slim's probably going to fold. And Mariano wins with King High. This is a really tough spot. I don't blame him for folding.
Get 1,000 white out of here.
Sure. Play of the night right there.
Thankfully, this one works out, and we keep things going on the right track.
At number 5, and in an even bigger 100-200 cash game, Brad Owen is at the Lodge in Texas. And yes, do not adjust your screens. This really is a $60,000 pot.
The third hand dealt, I pick up ace-3 suited under the gun +1. I raise to 600. This is it. We're going to battle.
It's going to be interesting here because this has got to be one of the largest games that Brad's ever played in, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
If not the largest.
It is.
Yeah, if not the largest. And he's going to play a hand here. I saw that Boots called with King 10 of Hearts. It's not up there, but he raised to 600, Brad did, and Boots called, and he's going to get some action here from Hook 2 with Black 8. So right off the bat, it looks like Doug Polk getting a price. Going to come in there with the 5 deuce suited, so 4 ways.
Frank gives us a flop.
Oh, how about an 8 in the door? And look at this. Brad has the nut flush draw, so this is going to be a big, big pot, or could be.
We've got the nut flush draw on 1 over and a 4-way pot on a board that will theoretically be way better for my range than anyone else since I open from early position and there are 2 Broadway cards. Doug checks with his complete air. I consider checking, but since this is so good for me as the under the gun +1 pre-flop raiser, I bet 2,200 is a semi-bluff. I don't anticipate getting raised because none of my opponents will ever have a set of kings or queens. The absolute best hand that anyone will have is a set of 8s, and the only 2-pair combination that makes sense for the opponents other than Doug is king-queen. If anyone calls my bet, it'll just build the pot in case I make the nuts, but I expect my opponents to fold pretty often. That won't be happening. The middle position opponent, whose cards aren't up on the screen, calls with king 10 of hearts. He has top pair and isn't close to being my main concern. The button flopped bottom set. It's the hand that I said would be the absolute best that any of my opponents could have. It's one of only 2 holdings that I anticipate the button will raise me with for value. Hook makes it 11,000 to go. Doug folds in the big blind. If I call for 9,000 more, the pot will be 27,000 and I'll have 18,000 left in my stack. I'll be completely pot committed and won't really be able to fold to a turn shove, getting almost 3-1 on a call at that point. Since there are so few value hands that my opponent will have, and his range is capped at pocket 8s, whereas I can have all the sets and 2 pair hands, I think that there's some chance that I could even be best. Hook is definitely capable of raising with some kind of worse draw. He's one of those guys who played for hours before the stream. During that time, he got into a hand with my friend Mike Delvecchio when Hook 5-bet shoved ace-jack offsuit preflop for 70,000 effective. Hook is a wild guy who can sometimes play with reckless abandonment. I can't see myself folding the nut flush draw on a flop against his opponent, and I won't be folding on the turn either. It's much better to get my money in now. I rip it to hopefully catch Hook making a move. Perhaps I can win this without seeing another card come out, but worst case scenario, I'll have 2 shots at hitting a diamond if I get called. The middle position player snap folds his pair of kings. Hook doesn't even snap call with his set. He's never folding a set for 18,000 more though. He makes the call, which I'm not thrilled to see, but I've missed a lot of draws and all-ins on previous streams this week. I'm kind of feeling like I'm due.
Brad just gets it in here with ace-3 of diamonds.
This has happened in about under 7 seconds.
Wow, he's going to be about a 3-1 dog here against a set.
How many times are we running it, boys?
In every single all-in situation this week on stream, I've run it once for max pain, including several pots for 20,000 or more, so guess what we'll be doing here?
They're going twice.
So about over 60 grand because Brad started with 30, plus the dead money out there. So they're going to go twice here, boys.
Brad looking for a diamond, a non-board pairing diamond.
Doug says, what's happened for blood? Last time Brad wanted to go 1 time blood for the stream, but this time we're going twice. Can't blame him.
If Brad can escape and win 1 here, that's going to be a good result for him.
Yeah, we're going twice. This is 3 hands into a nosebleed game with a pot 2 times bigger than any pot I've ever been involved in. The risk for me is already at an all-time high. No need to make things any wilder than they are when I'm shot taking. I've got about a 50% chance of chopping this. If I can somehow win both runouts, I'll be up over 30,000. The first turn is the ace of hearts, giving me a meaningless pair. The only significance is that had I just flatted the flop raise, there's no sliver of a doubt that I would have called a turn shove. Over $30,000 of this pot is going to be determined by the next card. The river is the 4 of spades. We brick, and I'm both somewhat deflated by the outcome and also happy that I chose to run it twice, so I have a second chance for at least getting my money back. Only one other player folded a diamond pre-flop, which is why the 4 of diamonds is grayed out in the top right. The second turn is the 10 of spades. It gives me a gut shot straight draw. I have one last chance at hitting, or I'll be stuck more than I've ever been stuck in my life. There's tons of tension at the table. I'm sure that the viewers of the stream are on the edge of their seats, so we're about to be extremely relieved or devastated. I kid you not, at this exact moment, the stream cuts out. Here's what the viewers saw.
But the tone has been set, ladies and gentlemen. If you are here early, you've been rewarded.
I'd love to tell you that the second river was a diamond and we chopped, but it was a brick, and I'm only able to keep my chips because I'm in the process of buying them back from Hook.
Number 4, and Ashley Sleeth is playing in a $1,600 no-limit hold'em tournament at the Wynn in Vegas. And thank you, Ashley. This is a really good reminder for us all to keep a check on our body language.
So we look down at pocket kings once again. I'm not kidding. This is all before dinner break. We're just running so hot. I open it up to 2,200 under the gun 1, and hijack, button, and big blind all come along. Great. So the flop is queen 9-5, 2 spades. Big blind checks. I think I'm going to check this a lot 4 ways, so that's what I do here. I check it. It checks all the way around to the button, and you can kind of see his body language in this footage. You see his hands, they grabbed his stack right away after I checked the flop. As soon as it checks to him, he immediately throws out 10K into a pot of around 12-5, something like that. I don't know, it looks pretty strong to me, bet huge in a 4-way pot, and it looks like he knew he was going to bet as soon as I checked. Maybe reading a little too much into that, but thought he was pretty strong. Big blind gets out of the way, and I only have 70K to start this hand. So with this 10K bet, I want to try to put as much money in the middle right now against all of his draws and his best queen X. So I am going to elect to raise, but I want to make it a size where it looks like I could potentially fold if he jams all in. We had similar stack sizes. So if he jams all in, I don't want to have made it like 35 or something so that it's obvious that I'm committed. So I ended up on a size of 25,000. I raised it 25K and it folds back to him, and you can see his hands in the footage. He immediately looks dejected. He does not look nearly as confident. It's like a bittersweet situation. We're happy that he didn't just have a set or something and we're gonna get coolered, but at the same time it looks like he's just gonna fold as soon as he takes this posture. But then he grabs his chip sack again, starts shuffling around, playing with his chips, and I thought he was gonna go all in. But he eventually lays it down, and we do win a sizable pot with kings. Stack is continuing to build. It's going great. Day 1B. Happy to be here.
Top 3 then for March 2022. And in at number 3, it's your boy Ethan, Rampage Poker, playing in a 25-50 game at the Lodge in Austin. And we're not sure, is this really brave?
In the next situation, I pick up ace-8 of clubs in +2 and start off with the action by raising to 300. Folds around and get the Unleon Straddler to defend his straddle, so we're off to a flop of 977 Rainbow. Not a single club on board, and this player checks to me. Here, I've been doing a lot of checking in this session, and this one is like no other. I check this one back with ace high and some backdoor straight draw possibilities. When the turn comes, the 5 of diamonds, one of those opportunities does come luckily. This player bets out $400, and here I have ace high, which is good showdown once again. Also, having an 8 gives me some equity to hit a gutter. I decide to make the call with a gut shot straight draw and overcard. I'm not going anywhere. We're off to a river, which comes the Queen of Spades. And on this card, we whiff everything once again, but our opponent bets out pretty large this time to $1,300. Something about how this hand played out just feels a little fishy. It's hard to imagine that this player is going to have a super strong hand besides a random Queen X holding or 7X. And the bad part about me bluff catching here and calling down with ace high is that I actually contain an 8. And I think a lot of his bluffs are going to hold an 8 in hand as it blocks some combinations of 8-7 and 8-6. Also, 10-8 would have been open-ended on the flop as well. But I guess I could also beat random cards like Jack 10 or hands that hold 2 diamonds and didn't connect with the queen. Anyways, I'm a non-believer. Folding is boring. $1,300, let's do it. I toss in a chip for a call, and this player shows 10-8. Luckily, got the right read and win with ace high in this one. Maybe I'm just a little too stubborn and sticky and he made a really good bluff, but regardless, it's nice to get chips pushed my way and have the hero call of ace high work out in my favor.
At number 2, Wolfgang Poker is playing in a 2-3 game at the Hustler in California. And I don't know, this hand really does feel like a hand you'd see more often on the internet.
We then look down at Jack 8 of clubs from the cutoff, few limps over to me, and I raise it up to $15. Obviously, you can see some of the beers are going to my head here. We're opening Jack 8 of clubs, but it's my meetup game and we're trying to have some fun. We end up getting 2 callers, and we're off to a pretty favorable flop when it comes ace-7-4 with 2 clubs. Not only are we going to have some range advantage on this board, but we do have a pretty strong hand if a club can peel off on the turn or river. I bet out for $15 and both players put in the call, and we're off to the turn, which is the 3 of clubs. Bang! We turn the flush. Bang! Betting out for $50 seems like the move. I want to get value against any other ace. Maybe a king or queen of clubs might now pay us off for another street of value. The big blind puts in the call and the middle position player does as well. Not really sure what they have in the hand, but we're still 3 ways to the river, which is a pretty bad card. It comes the deuce of clubs. Now a queen or king of clubs has a speed and the 5 of clubs has a straight flush. The big blind now rips it all in for $180. The middle position puts in the call and the action's over to me. Am I ever good here with my jack high flush? I just don't think so when it goes all in and a call from middle position. One of them has to have a queen or king of clubs, and one of them might have the coveted 5 of clubs for the nuts. So I muck my cards face up. Middle position shows the king of clubs, and what does the big blind show? Pocket 5s with the 5 of clubs. He has a straight flush versus the king of clubs. What a gnarly hand here. $605 going his way. We're stuck $780 on the session, but we are seeing some absolutely insane hands here at the meetup game.
And taking the top spot for March, our favourite hand in the whole of March, it is Close to Broke. Close to Broke playing in a 2040 game at the Commerce in California. And we're just not sure. Are we really hanging around to the river here?
We're in the button, and we look down at King Queen offsuit. Such a great hand to see. I decide to make it $100. It folds over to the big blind, who decides to 3-bet to $450. Again, as we mentioned earlier, this is that stronger player that I do perceive to have a pretty strong and very theoretically sound 3-betting range. I'm going to go ahead and make the flat call here, considering I am in position, although I will add a small caveat. This hand in the off-suited variety, I think plays better as a 4-bet as opposed to a just flat. I'm going to give myself a slight pass because we are playing 4 or 5-handed or whatever at this point, so I can only beat myself up so much. So anyways, I decide to make the call, and we're off to a flop. That comes Ace-10 for Rainbow. The opposition, as opposed to the last time, decides to c-bet to $300. Obviously, this is a very good flop for his range, and he doesn't need to be going massive here. The only thing that he doesn't realize is that I do have some pretty strong equity in this hand. You know, there's a good chance that King High can still be good here, and I am drawing to what is obviously the nuts. There is no flush draw out there, so I don't have to worry about that. All of my outs are live. So I decide to make the call for $300, and we're going off to a turn card that is a really interesting one as it comes the Ace of Hearts. It does now introduce a backdoor flush draw into the mix, but what it also does is make it less likely for my opponent to have a hand like an ace, as now there are 2 of them accounted for, which leaves only 2 left in the deck somewhere. Anyways, my opponent is not stopping the betting shenanigans as he decides to lead out for $450 once again. He's double barreling me with his shotgun, and I'm kind of in between. Obviously, King High can still be a very strong hand in this situation. I have the nut-no pair in these crossroads, so after a little bit of thinking and considering I still have that gut shot as a back out, I decide to make the call. We're going off to a river that comes an absolute brick as it comes a 5. The flush draws don't complete. Nothing really changes here, so when that's the case, I don't really know what to do, and especially when my opponent decides to lead out for $1,500. Damn. This is an unbelievably sick spot for me. I'm literally throwing up at my mouth. I wouldn't be surprised if you heard me gagging here. And I go deep into the tank. And these are the things that are going through my mind exactly at the table. Do I believe my opponent is capable of going for 3 streets of thin value with specifically a hand like jacks or queens or kings? And I don't think he is. This is not a board texture that I would be doing that, in my opinion. And of course you can, but I think on these runouts, you can only find 2 streets of value with those holdings. And if that's the case, I just have to discredit that, and it's even more unlikely because I block kings and queens. So now that leaves us with just holdings like any ace X, pocket jacks, and maybe some random 10. And in all likelihood, I just don't see an instance where this guy is going 3 streets with a 10, pocket jacks. The only hand that makes sense would be an ace. And if that's the case, he's pretty polar here. Although his bet sizing isn't absolutely polar, it's not like he went 2x the size of the pot, I kind of am fumbling with this. The big issue that I'm having with his line here is that he bet the river and he bet all 3 streets, but he would also be doing this with a bricked flush draw. I'm not holding a flush card. I don't have a heart, and that's really, really important here. I think that if I'm going to be calling this river, I'd prefer not to have a heart. I think I'd be almost always folding if I held even 1 heart in my hand, because that just discounts a ton of the combinations of flush draws that he'd have on the turn that he'd continue to barrel with. So after all is said is done, and nearly 3 minutes into the tank, I end up putting my freaking chips in the middle and I make one of the sickest calls of my life with king high in a massive pot. My opponent ends up showing queen 7 offsuit for the absolute 4 barrel blufferoonie. I am very proud to show my king high, and wow, what a freaking turn of events.
So how many of us are hanging around to the river? Liars. Well, thanks for watching. This was another 10 of the best from Suited Aces Poker. We hope you enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll look forward to seeing you again in the next episode, where we'll be back to our normal weekly schedule. Until then, good luck of the felt.